beware of spoilers. Who are this video's cloaked characters from the Rings of Power? We also need to discuss the necessity for the Rings of Power to tone it down with the death fakeouts. We will also discuss the stranger is a blue wizard and define the unseen world. To learn more, keep watching until the very end of the video. But first, who are the hooded figures in the Rings of Power? The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, has presented us with many mysterious characters, including Daniel Wayman's The Stranger, Joseph Mall's Adar, and Charlie Vickens Halbrand. However, viewers have been baffled by the appearance of the Mystics from the beginning. Some thought that the white hooded figure, known as the Dweller, first revealed in the trailer, might be Sauron. But this isn't true, though it's clear she is connected to him. But even now, we've come to the end of Season 1, we still know little to nothing about these figures who come dressed for battle. We know the Dweller can control fire and shapeshift, and it's likely the others have similar powers, and all three were seen teleporting, if over short distances. We also know that the Mystics hail from Rhûn, a land in the Far East that sided with Morgoth and Sauron in the past. It is finally revealed that they are looking for Sauron, believing this to be the stranger. They are loyal to Sauron and wish to serve him. It's unclear whether these three were alone or just messengers, so a whole legion of them may be awaiting Sauron at Rhûn. The Dweller seems to be the leader and usually carries the staff that resembles the Eye of Sauron. The Nomad wears a helmet, and the Ascetic's hood has 2 points on either side of her head. She also carries a shield with a constellation on it. Next, what have the Mystics been up to? The first time we're introduced to the Mystics in Episode 5, Partings, it's unclear whether they are friends or foes. We all know that they look rather ominous and they're trying to find the stranger, who they believe to be Sauron. The next time we see them is in Episode 7, The Eye, when they catch up to the Harfoots soon after the stranger leaves. While investigating the tree where the stranger performed his magic, Nori Brandyfoot jumps out and attempts to protect her friend by pointing them in the wrong direction. It seems like they believe her. The Mystics appear right behind her, and things get a bit spicy as the other Harfoots come to Nori's defense. They leave them amidst a fire and continue their quest to find the stranger. The Mystics appear again in Episode 8, Alloyed, when they finally find the stranger, who they call Sauron. They explain to the stranger that the veil placed over his mind by those who cast him down will weaken the more he uses his power. They also reveal the location of the constellation that the stranger has been looking for, and the Mystics urge him to return to Rhûn with them, the only place from which the Hermit's Hat, the constellation, can be seen. The Mystics almost successfully convince the stranger that he is evil, but the Harfoots come to his aid and save the day, which seems to be the end of the Mystics. Following Rhûn, the lands of the East. While J.R.R. Tolkien wrote a little about Rhûn, the Dweller, the Nomad, and the Ascetic are not part of his canon, and what Tolkien did write about Rhûn is relatively vague. All the races of Middle-earth have origins in the Far East, making Rhûn the home to dwarves, elves, and men. The elves in Rhûn are Aravi. They are wild forest dwellers, never making the journey to Valinor. There are 4 dwarf clans in Rhûn: the Stiffbeards, the Blacklocks, the Stonefoots, and the Iron Fists. These clans joined the dwarves of the West for the War of the Orcs in the Third Age. Many left their ancestral home to seek refuge with their western kin when Rhûn was threatened by war. Easterlings are the men of Rhûn who served Morgoth and later Sauron. They conflicted with Gondor right up until Aragorn made peace with them. By the time the Third Age arrives, Rhûn has been visited by 3 wizards: Saruman, Alatar, and Palando, known as the Blue Wizard. Of those 3, Saruman is the only one who returns. Their mission was to weaken Sauron's forces, but it's unknown whether they succeeded and their fate. So, as you can see, Sauron is tied to Rhûn, which explains why the Mystics from Rhûn are devoted to him. Because the information on Rhûn is so limited, Prime Video has free reign with what they do with Rhûn. Don't go anywhere just yet. Next, we'll tell you why the Rings of Power need to cool it with the death fakeouts, whether the stranger is the Blue Wizard, what the unseen world is, and how to see it. Stay tuned to find out more. First, the Rings of Power need to cool it with the death fakeouts. While we've all enjoyed The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, the series developed a rather concerning habit over its first season, namely the fake death of certain characters, only to reveal they were alive and well all along. This is a cheap method utilized to provoke an emotional response from the audience without committing to the definite changing of the status quo by killing a character. However, the danger of using this is undermining the narrative, and in turn, the emotional stakes of the entire story. If they continue this trend, The Rings of Power will seriously damage the desire of the audience to put any emotional investment in the story. At the same time, it's possible to use this trick as long as it's written in an excellent way and is only used once, and only once. Use it twice or worse, several times, and the audience will no longer believe that the death of any character has any meaning. After all, plenty of precedents indicate that the writers don't mean it, and once death has lost meaning, there's no point in investing in the story, and any future death, regardless of the importance of the character, will no longer make any impact. This is sad because there were so many strong characters, both new and old, that deserve some decent character development, as opposed to cheap tricks. Don't you agree? Next is the Stranger, a blue wizard in the Rings of Power. In the season finale of the Rings of Power, we learn from the Stranger that the word Istar means wise one or wizard, but to understand the possible identity of the Stranger, we have to dig a little deeper into the lore Tolkien wrote about the arrival of the blue wizards in Middle-earth. There were different accounts of when the Istari arrived. The most recent time Tolkien spoke of it fits best with the timeline unfolding in the series. The Istari were 5 wizards sent to Middle-earth by Valar to help people in their fight against Sauron. The first to arrive were Alatar and Palando. As they wandered the western shore during the Second Age towards the eastern lands of Arda, they became known as the Blue Wizards because of their sea blue robes. They were also given names by the humans of Middle-earth. According to Tolkien, Alatar was called Morinatar, which means Darkness Slayer, and Palando was called Romastemo, which means East Helper. They were on a quest to try and find out where Sauron was hiding, and along the way, they built a rebellion against Sauron. And while they never succeeded in finding Sauron himself, their efforts to encourage those who still worship Sauron to join the rebellion must have made a significant difference in the final battle against Sauron in the Third Age. The Stranger might be a blue wizard because he's been tasked to find Sauron as well. And now, what is the unseen world mentioned in the Rings of Power, and how do you see it? As the name suggests, the unseen world is unseen to the eyes of ordinary beings, like elves and mortals. But though unseen, it is very real. This is the realm from which creatures like the Valar, the Wraiths, and the Maiar exist in their spirit forms. But you may not realize that the unseen world is also where Sauron and even Gandalf came from, because the true essence of their nature is invisible to the eyes of physical beings. However, this mysterious realm can be accessed by finding and wearing the One Ring. Aside from binding all the Rings of Power together, it also allows the wearer to temporarily escape the physical world. Unfortunately, entering the unseen world also makes you vulnerable to the creatures that reside there, including the Nazgul, who are immune to earthly weapons. Given how the unseen world is the home to several very powerful creatures, it's reasonably safe to assume that Sauron will eventually start exploiting it, especially given how this is exactly how the Nazgul were brought to life. And that's it. What did you think of the finale of the Rings of Power? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.